Joining us now is the editor-in-chief of Axios, Nicholas Johnston. Nicholas, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. First, let's talk about that meeting yesterday, your reaction.
Yeah, what a great episode of the Trump show for the White House. That's exactly sort of the image that the president wanted to show, being in command of a room, negotiating the details, threading the needle between both Republicans and Democrats. That's exactly what our reporting says. A lot of people in the White House say they see the President Trump day in and day out, sort of as a pushback to what was in the Wolf book. In fact, a source close to the White House texted my colleague Jonathan Swan right after it was over. Says, I don't know if they planned this, but that's a perfect way to respond to some of the allegations.
Yeah, but that's not, I mean, yesterday Dianne Feinstein came up and said, look, what about a clean DACA bill without the security? And initially the president said, yeah, we want to get the DACA deal done. So, I mean, right. was it just really all for the cameras? Or was there actual negotiating going on in front of the cameras?
That's a perfect point. There was a lot of talk in this meeting that, when our reporting right afterwards says, didn't move the ball at all. Remember, Mitch McConnell went to the floor right after this was over and said, no, the spending bill is separate from DACA. Chuck Schumer followed him to the Senate floor and said, nope, the spending bill has to include DACA. So we are no closer to a solution on this, either short-term or long-term today, than we were before the meeting.
The president also got hit, I think is interesting, by his own base last night to some degree. And obviously he pays attention to that kind of thing. Like on our network, for example, Lou Dobbs was on at 7 o'clock last night, and Coulter's right on at the top of the show, really
Dobbs
giving
was
it
upset.
to him.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson on Fox News Channel an hour later. Right. So I checked right before I was about to ask you this question, is if the president had tweeted this morning. He hasn't. But here's what he has done, which I think is actually significant. He took his tweet from last night that he sent at 7 o'clock at night, and he pinned it to the top of his profile. So he wants everybody to see it, the one that says our country needs the security of the border wall and the southern border to be part of this DACA move. So he's trying to say, isn't he, to his base that, hey, listen, I'm not giving up on this wall. I'm not selling you guys out.
And he needed to do that because of the Dianne Feinstein exchange.
I guess.
Right.
What do you make of that?
Right. Well, I'll talk about, there's one part of that meeting that made me pause and stop when the president started talking about comprehensive immigration reform. That's something that gives conservative Republicans heart attacks, because then you start folding in what happens with skilled worker visas, what happens with guest workers, what happens with all the immigrants who are in the country illegally, separate from being brought here as children. That's when these kinds of proposals collapse, when the Republicans were in power during the Bush years. And I think a lot of Trump's sort of America First supporters who are focused on the wall were not happy that he started talking about comprehensive reform. They want to see security first.
But this is going to require that both sides give something, correct?
Right.
That if you're going to get any movement on immigration and the DACA issue, it seems like, and I might be off by this, because of the court ruling on DACA, trying to essentially keep it in place, that it might give Congress more time because, again, that's supposed to, those protections are supposed to expire in March. But both sides are going to have to give something on this, and I think that was what was on display yesterday as well, other than it being, you know, some sort of show that the president is a stable leader.
Right. I think the court ruling may take a little bit of the pressure off, but this is being litigated every which way. And so this, as I think Mark Shirk was on the program earlier, there's not a judicial solution to this. It has to be legislative. And I think the key things we're looking at is where they draw these lines. How much security and border funding and wall construction is enough for the Republicans to say, we got what we wanted? And how much is there for the Democrats to say, we got enough that we want? It won't be a complete solution to this issue. Is it maybe something that pushes it into next year, past the midterms? But that's what we're looking for, where these lines are being formed, where both sides can declare victory. And the worry right now, with 8 days to go, is I'm not seing where those lines are yet.
Well, quite frankly, people on the far right aren't going to be happy unless those 600,000 dreamers and the 11 million illegal immigrants in this country are rounded up and kicked out of the country. Let's be blunt. And President Trump has never given any indication that he wanted to send dreamers back to their home countries.
Right. Let's move on to this White House chief strategist Steve Bannon story. I mean, obviously, he stepped down as executive chairman of Breitbart News yesterday following the public fallout with President Trump. Breitbart announced Bannon's departure yesterday on the website, writing this: Steve is a valued part of our legacy, and we will always be grateful for his contributions and what he has helped us accomplish. Bannon is also quoted to have said this: I'm proud of what the Breitbart team has accomplished in so short a period of time in building out a world-class news platform. This exit comes after the explosive quotes were published in that controversial White House tell-all book fire and fury, Nicholas. What do you make of all of this?
Right. As we wrote on Axios yesterday, what an incredible political suicide this has been in just perhaps the past 10 days. As recently as last week, Bannon was still talking to President Trump about possibly running his re-election campaign and was still telling friends that if Trump didn't win, he would run himself. Now that is all over. He's lost his patron in the White House. He's lost his connection to all the Trump allies. President Trump is calling around all his friends saying, pick me or him, Trump or Bannon. He's lost his financial backing, and now he's lost his platform at Breitbart. And so what we're looking for next is sort of, well, how does he regain that? Does he still try and be a player in the 2018 campaign? We've seen that some reporting that he may try and start a political nonprofit, but the presence of Bannon is much smaller, incredibly smaller, almost non-existent today than it was 10 days ago before this book came out.
And Nicholas, Bob Nardelli here. I mean, in the PR category, I mean, what would you advise him to do? He really has put himself into a death spiral here, and I don't know if it's recoverable in the short term. I mean, does he just do a pullback and go quiet for a while? Or
he didn't deny he said it, right? I
no,
mean,
he did not.
He didn't deny any of the quotes.
I mean, while he was in the White House.
That's what gets me. I mean, is it possible? And I know people are, arguing what's true and what isn't true in this book, but that he's actually in the White House with his job as chief strategist, and he's trashing the president's kids?
That shocked us when it came out. We didn't see that one coming at all.
Well, he was in the job.
Right. I will say about Steve Bannon, he's no shrinking violet. He sees himself as a revolutionary, as a standard bearer for this America First agenda, sort of who is more in favor of Trump politics than sometimes Trump himself. Remember what happened in Alabama? He went against the president's wishes. So I would certainly look for him to see if he can round up other financial backers. There are other billionaires who we've reported are talking to him, including a Chinese billionaire who is currently in exile in New York. And if he does try and raise money, if he does try and launch a new platform to say, I don't see Bannon sort of shying away from this debate.
What about, so the number one nationalist in the administration is out and out of a job. Meantime, President Trump's going to the biggest globalist boondoggle in the world.
Yeah, going to the World Economic Forum in Davos.
Well, it was all part of yesterday, right? I mean, in some ways, I mean, that was the one thing in the Michael Wolff book. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that has been questioned, journalistic ethics and whether off-the-record stuff was put on and whether some of it was just completely made up. But if you think about it, Nicholas, one of the main arguments that Wolff was making in this book is that there was this faction. He kept going back to this Jarvanka term, like the Jared and Ivanka, versus the Bannonites. And if you really read into yesterday, and I don't know the answer to this, but did we see a win big time for that faction, Jared and Ivanka, with the Davos thing, with the moderation on immigration versus the Bannon wing, such as it is? Is there something to that? That's
a really good question. That's something we've been reporting almost since day one of this administration, the way we describe it, the conflict between the globalists and the nationalists, the America First crowd and sort of the Javanka Gary Cohn, Goldman Sachs crowd. That's the tension we see on trade, on immigration, on economic policy. How was that fight? Remember, Stephen Miller, who we've written is a strong proponent of the America First agenda, we've written as ascendant in the administration, and he is still there driving a lot of policy, particularly on immigration. And as we're reporting, I think literally 15 minutes ago before I sat down in this chair, in Mike Allen's newsletter, Axios AM, don't look for Trump to go to Davos and say things like other people say at Davos. He will bring the same message he has brought everywhere when he goes there.
So you think he's going to communicate that America First message in the face of all of those globalists?
I think he would love to do that, to go into that room full of all those international bankers and of all places Switzerland and give a campaign speech.
Wow. Well, he also wants their help, though, on terrorism. He wants their help on North Korea. So,
but look at the UN speech he gave, where he was able to say both of those kinds of things. Like everyone here, everyone puts their country first, but that doesn't mean we can't work together. I think that's the message he will bring to